Hi, it's Marc Zienkiewicz, and welcome to the Germination Podcast. I had the pleasure of attending the Prairie Grain Development Committee, or PGDC, meetings in Banff, Alberta last month. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Dana Maxwell, President and CEO of Manitoba's Ag Quest. She is also the chair of the Prairie Recommending Committee for Wheat, Rye and Triticale. AgQuest is a contract agricultural research company that provides field and greenhouse research services across Western Canada. And as chair of the Prairie Recommending Committee for Wheat, Rye and Triticale, Dana oversees which lines are put forward to the federal government every year for registration. We talked about her work as part of the PGDC and some important leadership skills she's learned as president and CEO at AgQuest. Enjoy our chat. So like I say, Dana, thank you for sitting down with me. I know you've got a busy time here, so I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me.
Well, I'm very glad to be here.
Now, you are the chair for the Prairie Recommending Committee for Wheat, Rye and Triticale, or the PRCWRT for short. What's on the agenda this year? How many lines are you guys looking at, and what are the big themes in wheat that everybody's talking about?
So this year we have 22 lines up for registration. So that's a fairly standard number for the last number of years. We've got 11 lines up for registration for CWRS, 4 looking for registration for CPSR, 2 for CWAD, so that's Amber Durum, 1 soft white spring, 1 rye, 1 spring triticale, which is new. The spring rye protocol we approved last year, that's a new thing. But we've had spring triticale testing for a while, but we do have a new line coming up, and 2 winter triticale lines. So it's a good mix.
Have there been any big themes in terms of discussion on, what people need to do in wheat? I know that sometimes yield is a big theme, disease resistance. Is there any big themes that are coming out so far in the meetings?
So far, we're looking at the same merit assessment that we've had for a number of years. There doesn't seem to be any pressure to shift what we're looking at as a merit definition or pressure to shift on different diseases at this point. We always watch to see what's coming up with diseases and if there's something new that we need to respond to. But for now, the data suggests that the 5 priority 1 diseases we look at, which is stem rust, leaf rust, stripe rust, common bunt, and fusarium head blight, are amongst the most important diseases facing wheat in Western Canada right now. There is one challenge that's in front of many of our committees right now, and that's how to efficiently assess candidates for suitability for Western as well as national registration, especially if there's a line approved or supported by one of the other geographical recommending committees that was to be seeking national. What do we need to know to say we support this or we're not comfortable with this to CFIA to support what they do as the registrar? So I think there will be some really interesting discussions and careful deliberation to consider this issue holistically, because we don't want to create a problem while trying to prepare a solution, and keeping in mind the benefit of the value chain. That has to be at the forefront of our minds.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because the plenary session tomorrow, that's going to be a big theme, is regulatory matters and variety registration, modernizing the regulatory system. And so this is obviously something that is on the minds of people involved in wheat, is how we can modernize, how we can tweak things, in terms of regulations to I guess make things more efficient in wheat.
So PRCWRT is always looking at a way to be more efficient, more transparent, more predictable. A number of the initiatives we've done since I joined the committee, not my initiative personally, but initiatives that have happened in that time frame, have been the evaluation tools that now each of the evaluation teams uses, And that was modeled based off past decisions and provided good predictability. So a breeder could complete the evaluation tool ahead of the meeting and have a good idea on whether they were going to need to present on their variety and explain why it had merit, even though it may have a deficiency or an area of weakness, and why the committee should still support it, even if it was not an automatic approval. So I think that's been really important in increased transparency, and it's allowed the evaluation teams to operate more efficiently so that we can then look at other things like the common checks proposal. So what we're doing there is looking at, amongst our hard red spring classes, CWRS, CPS, and CNHR, can we have a set of checks that if we put, say, 6 or 7 checks in one test in a total of 36 entries, and we run that test at a number of locations, grade those checks, and have a milling recipe developed, can we use those checks to essentially sort the candidates in that test into what their end-use category would be? And that could be a much more efficient way of running trials. And we've done some preliminary testing. We hope to see some more results this year and maybe tweak the approach just a little bit and see. I don't know if we'll be ready to run with it next year or maybe the year after. So it's a new thing, but I think it could be a really big advantage for agronomy and for the quality evaluation team in terms of efficiency and predictability.
Yeah, I know you guys have done a lot of work in that area and modernized your processes a lot over the years. And I mean, that's something you've, I guess, become familiar with over the last, 4 years now that you've been chair of the Wheat, Rye and Triticale Committee. What's the biggest thing you've learned over the last 4 years in leading this committee?
Largely to come prepared. We have a really great team. We have a lot of very smart people on the team, and I need to not get in people's way. I need to listen. I need to ask when I don't know. And everyone has offered a lot of grace if I've ever had a misstep or needed more information than I had to hand. Everyone is always willing to pick up their phone when I call or answer an email when I've got a question for them. So the committee is very supportive, and that enables me to be the chair in an effective way.
Yeah, it takes a lot of leadership skills, I guess, to be an effective chair of one of these committees. But I mean, you're no stranger to that. I first met you in 2017 when I did a story on you and your dad, David. Graced the cover of Germination. You serve as president and CEO of AgQuest, which is based in Minto, Manitoba. And at the time, you oversaw staff of 23 research associates. That was 6 years ago, back in 2017. But 6 years later, what's going on at AgQuest that you can tell us about?
So we've continued to grow. We've got, I think, 25 research associates now, and we've added another project coordinator to our team. And we've added some full-time technician and technical support people. I think our payroll right now for full-time people is 45. And then in the summer, when we add all of our summer students, we're up closer to 100. So it's very busy. We have a lot going on. But we have a lot of really good people, and we do a lot of training with our summer students. We hope that a job at AgQuest for the summer gives them a really good base for their training and their future career and makes them very employable. We hope to employ a lot of them back ourselves. A lot of our very successful research associates started as summer research technicians with us. But we also see a lot of our summer research technicians and even research associates go on to great careers across industry, and we're very proud of them. We continue to see demand growing for our services. We've gone up to 5 research stations now, and we see a lot of demand right now for our herbicide-resistant weed bioassay service, which we offer direct to farmers and companies. And that's weed seed samples that people collect in the field because they didn't die when they should have. They get sent to us. We test them over the winter, aiming to have results in time to make herbicide decisions for the spring.
I mentioned earlier leadership skills. I imagine you've probably learned some over the years leading AgQuest as CEO. And before I let you go, what would you say is the top lesson you've learned in that regard?
So one lesson that I've learned is that I need to appreciate the people I'm working with, whether that's with PRCWRT and the absolutely fantastic team of experts we have here, who I have a great deal of respect for, but also within our AgQuest team. One of the things I've learned and carry with me at all times is integrity and authenticity. I find if I can be trusted to always act with integrity and to be consistent in my dealings with those around me, that will set the tone for how my team will interact with each other and with our clients. And then integrity and authenticity for small things will translate to integrity, authenticity, and trust for the big things when it really matters.
People will only follow a leader if they respect that leader and if they know that leader has empathy and is learning just like they are as you go, right? I mean, that's how you learn, is you learn as you go. And so yeah, that counts for a lot, and I'm sure it makes you a really effective leader, not just of the Wheat, Rye and Triticale committee, but of AgQuest in general. Dana, I'm curious, there's so many people involved in these PGDC committees, people from different organizations, but I think the one thing I've never really thought to ask anybody is like, well, how do I become involved? How can I become a member? How do I become a part of all this if I'm interested in doing that? And how can people get involved with this?
So as chair, part of my responsibility is to explain the committee and the process and why we operate the way we do, whether that's to people who are interested in joining, to farmers who are interested in understanding how variety registration for wheat works, to companies that are interested in entering the Canadian market, or anyone else who's interested in wheat, rye, or triticale. In order to become a member, usually the first step is for someone to contact me and express their interest, and I'll talk to them about where their interest lies specifically within the group. Are they more of an agronomy person? Do they have a specialism in diseases? Are they an end-use quality person? Are they a miller, a baker, a wheat specialist looking at the biochemical and the functionality and the physiological properties of the wheat and the flour? So then I can guide them to which evaluation team they would best fit. Then they would register for the meeting as a guest. They would attend the meetings. They would specifically attend the evaluation team meeting for the evaluation team they want to join. And they would be nominated at the end of that evaluation team meeting as a new member, and the evaluation team votes on whether they should accept them or not. Then at the end of Thursday's meeting, Thursday morning, with the full committee, the evaluation teams list their proposed updates to membership, both people who have left or are leaving or are no longer interested, and those who are wishing to join. And then we as a committee vote to ratify those acceptances that the evaluation teams have done. We ask that people be willing to stand up and very briefly explain who they are and why they're interested, why they want to participate. Hey, my name's Dana. I really like wheat. I like agronomy. I like doing testing. It's not a high pressure, show us your resume. We just need to know who you are and why you're interested, and we're pretty welcoming.
Yeah, no, that's good to know, because I'm sure there's people out there who are probably listening to this podcast who are thinking, oh, that'd be interesting for me to actually get involved in that. And so that's one question I've never actually thought to ask anybody. So,
well, we would always welcome interest from new potential members.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me.
For more great podcasts, visit germination.ca.